Good evening, everybody. We do still have some people still coming in. We're going to ask that the speakers come to the front now and ask that people take their seats or feel free to stand in the middle of the arena here. For our folks that have joined us online, thank you, welcome. We'll get started in just a few minutes. Good evening, folks. Thank you for joining us for our public meeting for the McKinney and China 2 fires. We appreciate your coming out this evening. I'm glad you were able to find us here. We're really grateful to the Siskiyou Golden Fairgrounds who gave us this space that would accommodate as many as needed very last minute. So we're very grateful to have this space. My name's Adrienne Freeman. I'm a public information officer with California Team 10. We are the incident management team that is currently managing the McKinney and China fires on the federal side. We are also in unified command with CAL FIRE's Siskiyou unit. So you're going to hear from a bunch of people tonight from both of those agencies. What I'm going to ask is that we hold questions to the very end. There are quite a few people out there. We want to be respectful of your time as well as the folks that are actually actively engaged in fighting this fire. So we will take questions at the end. However, if your question is specific to your property or would be better answered standing in front of a map, we ask that you hold that. And we will absolutely be here as long as you need us after this meeting to answer those specific questions. So feel free to ask those general ones. We will find the right person to answer that. But if you have something specific, please feel free to come and talk to us at the end. For those of you that have joined us online, welcome. Thank you for being here as well. I can tell you right now, we are not going to get to all of your questions during the meeting, but we value every single question and we will get to them. It is just not going to be during this meeting. So have patience with us and we'll get your questions answered. You know, I think the thing that is most important to all of you is an operational update. So here to give you a detailed operational update is Heather McCrae. She's the Operations Section Chief for California Team 10. She is also Chief 2 on the Klamath National Forest, so has been here since the very, very beginning of this lightning bust and also of the McKinney fire. Thanks, Heather.
Good evening. I had the opportunity to get up in the air earlier today and take a flight along the southern part of the fire. The smoke didn't let me go too far north, but I did get some good eyes up there, and then I spent the rest of the day out on the ground, verifying some of the good work that is going on out there. Yesterday, as you guys know, we did have quite the storm come through. We picked up quite a bit of precipitation, especially on this east side of the fire. And then that cloud cover and precip rain continued throughout the day today. So that has given us a great advantage to be able to get in closer to this fire and continue the good work that we've been doing the last couple days, but get closer and start putting in direct line. I know that most of you are concerned about the communities, so I'll start there with the update. There is completed dozer line around Wairika. We do have line that is further up on the hill on the ridge system, and then a secondary line that is in closer to town. Additionally, with the precipitation, we have crews directly on the fire edge, building a combination of dozer line where we can get the equipment in there, and then hand line where it is too steep for the dozers to work. They do have good line completed in Humbug Creek and continuing up the perimeter to the north. They also have line that's coming from Humbug Creek and moving over to the west. Like I mentioned, that's a combination of hand line and dozer line. We also have work going on down in Baldy Gap, just north of Fort Jones. There's helicopters working in there right now, dropping water. We've had kind of some mixed conditions with the air due to the smoke, and so when we can get aircraft up, we're supporting the folks on the ground with those water dropping missions. But when we lose visibility, we do need to put those aircraft back down on the ground. But we do have hand crews in there right now completing hand line. And then the combination of hand line and dozer line continues working up toward Baker Flat. In addition, we do have dozer line that comes across the ridge system to the north of Fort Jones as a secondary line should we need to use that. Continuing around towards Scott Bar, we have a hand line that is going in that area as well, in that Baker Flat, and working down towards Mill Creek. We've had folks out scouting some of these road systems and getting in closer to the fire and seeing what opportunities we have in there to continue with that work and continue that line progression around towards Horse Creek. In the Horse Creek area in the Klamath River School in that area, we've got a lot of good work going on at Oak Bar around those structures. We've had folks in there for a couple days now, picking up that direct fire edge, getting that good and mopped up, and getting that edge secured. Continuing up to the north, along north of Highway 89, we were able to also go in there today and pick up the fire's edge direct, and we have dozer line that's moving up to the north, up towards Deer Camp Meadow, and that work is going well in there. Up the Beaver Creek Road, we have a combination of hand line and dozer line that leaves the Beaver Creek Road and continues to the west. And they're anticipating they should make about a 1.5 to 2 mile distance today. So as they're working, from each side, we're getting it over the next couple days, hoping to get that hooked and all tied in. In the meantime, they're also working dozers and getting folks in the pipeline gap area so that we can connect those lines as they come together. We did have an area across the Beaver Creek Road to the east. We have hand crews in there. Our Type 1 hotshot crews are in there going direct right along the fire's edge and getting that good and secured. Due to the steepness and the rugged terrain in there, it's probably going to take them another day or day and a half to get that completed. But the fire behavior that has not moved in the last 2 days, so they'll be able to get that good and picked up. We do continue to keep eyes along the Highway 96 corridor, ensuring that we are securing the values at risk that we do have out there. And then they were going in just this afternoon south of Highway 96 and trying to see what opportunities we have in here. Again, very steep, very rugged terrain, but trying to see if we can't get our hand crews in there to start going direct on that piece and bring it down back around into Wairika. Yesterday or 2 days ago, we also found a lightning fire up in the Alex Hole area. We were calling that the Alex Fire 2 days ago, and then today that just became a division of the McKinney Fire. They were making good progress on that and had it about 25% contained, and then that thunderstorm came through yesterday, and it did spread fire across their containment lines. So they backed out, regrouped. It grew to about 80 acres, but then this morning they were able to get back in there and start securing that edge. There's been no growth on that fire today, and they've been making good progress on both sides of that fire, starting at the bottom, continuing up both sides, and working on getting that wrapped. Continuing down to Syad, we have the China 2 fire that started as 2 lightning strikes, and then they ended up growing together. Again, very steep, very rugged terrain just south of Highway 96. We do have some dozer line that had previously been put in the China Mountain area. So we had over the last 2 days, dozers in there reopening that old dozer line, hand crews in there improving along that line, and we probably today, by the end of the shift today, maybe a little cleanup needed tomorrow, those dozer lines should be open, and we're fairly confident that we can see no more progression of that fire to the south. The fire does continue to back down towards the river, and we're monitoring that. All the fire's been staying on the ground, very small flame lengths, and it's just backing down towards the creek. We do have lots of engines along that corridor. We've got them in around the structures. They've been doing a lot of good prep work in there, and we have folks on both fires at night that are continuing the good work and continuing to monitor this fire, the China fire, as it backs down towards the river. We have seen an increase of resources over the last few days. I just passed a dozer that came up from the Angeles. We have hotshot crews here from Arizona. So we are getting a lot of resources in from all throughout the state and across the West. So we've had good support, and like I said, the weather has given us a great opportunity that we can take advantage of and go in and get this thing taken care of.
Thank you, Heather. So a lot of good news, a lot of it caused by this inversion that has been sitting over us for a couple of days now, and that increased moisture and humidity. However, for a lot of us yesterday, the smoke was pretty significant, and of course that's a concern as well. We want to talk a little bit about air resources and smoke conditions, and here to do that tonight is Air Resources Advisor Margaret Key.
Good evening. I'm not going to talk really long because I know you're kind of used to smoke. You probably feel like, well, I know about smoke, I want to learn more about fire. But when the smoke is as bad as it was here yesterday, it can really, really be harmful for your lungs, especially for elderly, for toddlers, for anybody with respiratory illness, and it can make you more prone to respiratory illness. So I know we're all sick and tired of talking about COVID, but it can actually irritate your lungs and make you more susceptible to getting any respiratory illness. And the other group that is high risk for smoke inhalation you might not think about, pregnant women, because you need additional oxygen for the baby. So especially for those groups, it's really important to limit your smoke exposure as much as you can. And for me, there are three factors really that multiplied together equal your smoke exposure. One of those is the amount of time that you're in the smoke. One of them is the density or how smoky it is. And then the third one is how deeply you're breathing. So like yesterday, if it gets that bad again, you really want to not do anything vigorous, just take it easy. If you typically go for a run, try to just cut that out for a few days because you can breathe 10 times as much air into your lungs when you're running as just walking down the street. So you're inhaling 10 times as much smoke. Limit the time you're outside, even if your windows have to be open because you don't have air conditioning. When you go outside, you work, right? And pretty soon you're breathing hard. When you're in your house, you probably sit on the sofa, you're not breathing as much smoke. So just think, how can I spend less time in it? How can I not breathe as deeply when I am in it? And then you can't limit the concentration of smoke in the air, but you can limit the amount that you inhale by wearing a mask. I know we're all tired of masks too, but the N95 masks are what you really need to filter out the smoke. I can put on an N95 mask, and even on a day like yesterday, if my mask fits well and I go outside, it won't smell anywhere near as smoky. But the little surgical mask, the smoke just goes around them, so they really don't protect you very much. I will be producing a smoke outlook. It should be published by tomorrow morning about 8 o'clock. You've probably seen those in the community before on the boards for the fire, and you can also see it online on the Facebook page. I'm sure our PIO is really good about posting that. I have business cards. If anyone has specific needs or questions, see me after the meeting, and I'll give you my contact information.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Klamath National Forest Supervisor Rachel Smith.
Good afternoon. I wanted to start by saying thank you. I've never been more proud to be a Siskiyou County resident than the last few days. It's been a really unimaginably hard few days for us. We know that we've lost multiple folks in the midst of this fire. There are 2 that have been confirmed dead after Sheriff LaRue's updates this morning. So it's a loss that it's just unimaginable, and it's breaking my heart. I know it's breaking many of your hearts too. In the midst of that, the thing that I'm holding on to is watching Siskiyou stand up for each other. So the way that you have helped evacuate each other's livestock, the way that you've put up friends from school and allowed people to stay on your floors, I wanted to say thank you for all of that. I'm evacuated right now, as I know many of the folks in this tent have probably been evacuated. So as we work on the fire, we're also aware of the impacts there as well. So please know that our firefighters, the local Siskiyou County firefighters, the CAL FIRE firefighters, the Forest Service firefighters, all of us are working as hard as we possibly can to save and protect your homes, to save and protect lives, which is our most critical priority, and to get you back into your homes as quickly as possible. Again, I just wanted to say thank you. And in our initial attack efforts on this fire, I wanted to share we got a lot of resources very early, which helped us immeasurably. And I have to say thank you to my partner with CAL FIRE, Chief Anzo. The partnership that we have in working on this, again, this is one of those things that makes me proud to be a resident of Siskiyou County. It's the firefighters that are from here that we know that we can depend on. So thank you again for being here, and we'll do our best to get you back into your homes as quickly as possible.
Thank you. And with that, we would like to introduce CAL FIRE Siskiyou Unit Chief Phil Anzo.
Thank you. My name is Phil Anzo. I'm the CAL FIRE Unit Chief here in Siskiyou. I'm also your County Fire Warden. I also would like to thank you. I appreciate you guys coming out, and I'm sure that everybody here has lots of concerns over this fire. CAL FIRE has been engaged on this incident from the very beginning. We've sent resources down to this fire when it first started, and unfortunately, the conditions were beyond our control. We had a thundercell that came over the top of this incident and blew out very strong downdraft winds and expanded the fire size in all directions. Thank God our firefighters were able to get out of the way, and so there were no injuries from that. But that tells you a little bit about the severity of this incident and our fuels out there. Firefighters are facing some tough conditions. I feel really blessed that we had some recent rains, and I can guarantee you that we're going to take advantage of that opportunity to try and keep this fire as small as we possibly can. It is quite large, though, as you can see behind me, and there is a lot of work to do ahead of us. But like Supervisor Smith said, we're going to do this work together. We're in unified command, and we are unified in our voice, we're unified in our goals, we're unified in our objectives. We're going to accomplish this one way or the other. We've leveraged our resources, and we have enough to be able to come in and accomplish the tasks that are ahead of us. So thank you for coming here and being willing to listen to us and ask questions of us. And I just ask that you have some patience with us as we work to ensure the protection of our communities, because there is a lot at risk here. And we want to make sure that both you are safe and our firefighters are out there. And we're going to do everything we can to get you back in your homes as soon as possible. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chief. And now I'd like to introduce Cal OES, Siskiyou County OES Director Brian Shinoni.
Good evening, everyone. Brian Shinoni. I am Siskiyou County's emergency manager. And my goals are to save lives, protect property, mitigate human suffering, protect animals and the environment. And with our team and our partnership, we've tried our very best to continue that, and we will continue pushing. So a few things for you and resources when it comes to information, which is so important, because I know as we grow and as this incident expands, we want to make sure that we have all the right information. So a couple things I want to talk about. First and foremost is code red alerts go out. We're also integrated in with iPause, so you're going to see more of that push, anything down the 96 corridor. Our goal is to make sure that we're getting alerted early and often. If there's anything that needs to be pushed, we're going to push it. One of the things you can do is be ready and be prepared for that. So Zone Haven and ArcGIS, both with fire mapping tools, are on our Siskiyou County OES page. If you click on that page, or just the Siskiyou County page, right above it, it'll say evacuation and fire alerts. With that, you can monitor that from your cell phone. You can monitor that from your home computer, whatever that looks like. I personally keep that up and running and make sure that I can monitor when I'm not at work, monitoring all of it. Important thing to know is know your zone. You hear us say that a lot. And if you haven't heard it, and this is the first time you've heard it, so this is know your zone. In Zone Haven, you can click on that and type in your address, and it's going to give you a designated SIS, whatever the 4-digit number is. If you're in town, it's going to have Wairika's designator. That is your zone. So if you see that code red alert come out and it has those 3 letters and that 4-digit code, that means you're either in a warning or an order. A warning is really easy. It's a yellow, prepare yourself to go. If you don't feel safe or you need extra time to evacuate, you can go ahead and evacuate. Get out. If you get an order, that means go. This fire behavior, as you'll hear, is incredible. Just leave. Don't try to fight it. Don't try to stick around. It's not worth your lives. We can't lose any additional. With that, NorCal 211. If you need information and you don't feel like you're getting it from us, NorCal 211 is fed every day. Every update that we have, we're pushing through NorCal 211. Easy as dialing on your phone, 211. They're going to ask you where you're from. You're going to say Siskiyou County, and they'll start giving you all the dump on whatever you need for information. Really important. And then also, for those of you in the ag community, we also are doing the Ag Pass. So Ag Pass has already been done and have been issued for 2022. If you need to get in to feed your livestock, that is going to be your pass through the fire line. So we worked with all different communities, all different agencies, so they know that the Ag Pass is available. And for those who Ag Pass holders, make sure that you're contacting your RageCon so we're getting the safe downrange. And then last but not least, in the chat, there's going to be a couple numbers. 643-3661 and 3662, and we'll get those numbers out again. Those are going to be your general information lines. You need information on what's happening, we'll be able to get you that information through those. A lot of that information is going to be pushed online, so maybe check out online quickly, see if it's not there. If you really got some other questions that aren't answered, they're going to be on those phone numbers. So again, that's going to be 643-3661 and 3662. Again, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for your guys' support on this, and we're here until its end. So thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Someone you all know, Siskiyou County Sheriff Jeremiah LaRue, to say a few words.
Well, thank you very much. Good evening. I want to start with letting everyone know something I think we all feel here. We're getting into a lot of specific information, but as a community, we all feel what's going on inside. Everybody on this team, everybody in the audience, anybody watching on YouTube and beyond, we all hurt together. It's hard for us to process things as they're happening. and we have a lot of unanswered questions. So I just want to throw that out and let you know that we do hear you, and we do feel that sentiment, not only in our team, but again, throughout the community. We are here as public servants to safeguard life and property, and we take that very seriously. We do love this community and know that we're at work constantly for the benefit of the entire community. So yesterday, we had some very troubling news, which was that we located 2 individuals that were deceased in a fire. Again, that is hard to process, a lot of unanswered questions as to who these individuals are. But right now, I'd like to just take a moment. You don't know who these people are, but they're part of our community. I just want to take a moment of silence to remember those individuals and honor them. So please bow your head just for a few moments. Thank you. So with that, we have some basic information that we did release, and what we know is that 2 individuals were located in a vehicle in a residential driveway on Doggett Creek Road, which is west of Klamath River off of State Route 96. It's going to take some time to identify those individuals, and we also need time to communicate with the family. I ask that you respect that. We want to get the information out as soon as possible, but just understand that we have a little bit of time to positively identify people. Our goal is to disseminate information as fast as possible, so we'll keep you updated as that continues. People have concerns about friends, family, and totally understand that. What we want to have is an opportunity that if you would like to have us check on somebody that lives in an affected area of a fire, we are happy to do that as personnel will allow. So we refer to things as unaccounted for. Sometimes you hear missing people. I'm here to tell you right now, we do not have any missing people. If we get a request to have somebody go check on somebody, say a welfare check is how we refer to that, I will give you a phone number through the Emergency Operations Center for welfare checks. But also, if somebody's unaccounted for, and that generally means that you have not heard from somebody who you regularly hear from, who lives in the affected area, we need to know that information. Because again, as a community, you know best who these individuals are. So the phone number for that is going to be 530-842-8741. I'll repeat that, 530-842-8741. So we've done approximately 20 welfare checks. And again, that is just going to locations to check to see if anybody's home, if the house is still standing, whatever the conditions. We'll try to get as much information out as possible. Because we know, we understand, we feel that you want information, we want to get that. So we will work as hard as we can for that. So a little bit of what's going on out there for the law enforcement world is right now actively in the burn area. We have teams out that are comprised of search and rescue members and law enforcement. And what they're doing is they're going and checking structures. Right now, I would say that we estimate that there's about 100 structures that we're looking at. Now, that's from anything from a shed to a home. But we want to take a systematic process to go through and check those locations the best that we can so that we can get information out as quick as we can. So that is the process right now. There are, you'll hear rumors about things. I just ask that you give us some time and be patient. If we do have information, we will be forthcoming as soon as we can. Please check our social media sites, whether it's the Sheriff's Office, Facebook page, Instagram, Twitter. We try to get on all of them. The Emergency Operations Center through OES or the Klamath National Forest. We try to all share the same stuff. CAL FIRE, same thing, even CHP and others, Wairika Police Department. So we want to get the information out. Just give us some patience as we move forward with that. And the other thing, I know Chief Gilman's going to come up and talk about the city of Wairika. We have a great relationship with the city and all of our counterparts, whether they're federal, state, or local, and we're working round the clock to ensure that we can help each other out, provide resources. So we have a mutual aid request that went out, and we have law enforcement from all over down into the Bay Area, up into Northern California, and into Southern Oregon that have come down in to help. So you may have seen them patrolling your streets, which maybe seem a little weird to see somebody maybe from Oregon down here, but they're here because they care. And when we sent that request out, people responded immediately to come and help. So that's a testament to how people feel about the community. So I think that's exciting. So that's why they're here. We called and requested them because it can get easily overwhelmed as time goes on. So we have people constantly rotating in and out of assignments with at least 60 law enforcement officers in the community. So again, just to reiterate a couple things, we are here to serve. We want to be successful. We want you to be successful. We can't do this without your support. And so again, that comes with patience and kind of understanding of what we're all going through. We all hurt, again, together. But we want to be successful, and we need that partnership with the community. And we want to get you home. Sometimes it feels a little bit like, when are we going to get to go? The weather seems fine. There's a lot of questions about road conditions and whatnot. Our goal is to get you back home safely. So in the coming days, just keep that in mind, that we're here for you. We do care for the community, and we are one community. And again, we are all feeling this together. So thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff. I'd like to bring up next Wairika City Police Chief Mark Gilman.
Hello, thank you all. The biggest question that's going to come to me is, I'm sure, evacuations. So I'd like to start with thanking everyone for their help and all of you for showing up here. And they've explained the fire to everyone. They did a pretty good job talking about how explosive it was in the beginning. That's their specialty. We had to make a decision, and we started some evacuations. This decision was based off of past fire histories in other towns, other communities. And we know how easy it is to have traffic condition problems, blockages, and then people start getting hurt or animals get lost. So what we tried doing is we started breaking Wairika up into difficult areas that we know would be the hardest to get people out of, either due to the road conditions or there was some elderly establishments for people to be at, or people that have ambulatory issues where they can't easily go. And a lot of people didn't have rides. So we started evacuating those areas first. It went very smooth, and I want to thank everyone for that. It was absolutely amazing. I've been on a lot of fire evacuations where we drove around yelling on a PA and people were running. This one was smooth. People were very cooperative. They thanked us for what we did. We gave people time. This wasn't a rushed evacuation. We did close the area. It is a hard closure. We put the street signs up today, and that's when the phone call started. So I just want to remind everyone, it has been the same evacuation for several days now. The road closure signs are for us to protect your property and to protect the people there. As Sheriff LaRue was saying, we have a lot of mutual aid that came to help us, and we have saturated that area with police cars. The road closures make it very easy for us to contact people that don't belong at your house when you're not there. And I understand the evacuations. I am evacuated myself. I am not home and haven't been home for several days. So I do understand that. We are working very closely with everyone involved. We're trying to put out as much information as we can. I'm trying to leave that to the professionals. And so I've been working with OES and the Forest Service and CAL FIRE. And if I have something to get out, I try to get it to their PIO through mine. So if you have questions about what's going on in Wairika, please check their sites. Our site's linked to it. Our call volume has gone up about 3 times. I've had to triple dispatch, And most of that is for calls about when can I come back home, or where is the fire, how's the fire burning, questions like that. It really ties us up for the emergencies that we have to deal with. We've arrested several people for being in enclosed areas where they shouldn't be. Most of them are up to no good, and we're going to continue to do that and protect your property. So with that, I just want to say thank you to everyone that's been helping me, and thank you to all of you, and I'm hoping that answers most of your questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we're going to hear from Wairika City Manager Jason Ledbetter.
Thank you very much. So, as a member of this community, Saturday morning I woke up to a lot of voicemails, and obviously the fire behind us had just exploded. And I know we had talked about it. I go to the Fire Safe Council meetings all the time, and we know that fire danger is getting more and more difficult, unpredictable, and here it was. And so immediately looking at that column, you know, we packed. I knew I wasn't going anywhere, but my son, my 4 little dogs, and my wife and my cat had to get out of town because I wasn't going to be able to come back and help them out. So we situated that, called Public Works, Chief Gilman. Public Works was already headed over. We're concerned about water pressure and water. And I know a lot of people, and I completely understand at that point, things were so unpredictable. We had water on everywhere. Public Works came in and immediately stabilized the water situation. I headed down to the EOC to touch base with Brian Shinoni. We had our planner come in. We immediately went for the proclamation declaring an emergency, which opens up more funding and more opportunity for resources. And I thank the state of California for immediately following that with their own proclamation or declaration, which has opened up resources that you see here today. And so the rest of the day was a bit of a whirlwind trying to gather information. The team was expanding. More and more people were coming in. We have so many agencies here. We are the county seat, and so there are multiple people on this fire over within this group that have a staked interest in our community, so I'm very thankful for them. The communication and the team continues to grow, and I think that right now things are looking really good with communication flowing between everybody, the plan being set up. It's obviously very fluid, but we're going to continue to work with all the agencies and make sure that we can supply whatever is needed. We've already been in contact by Megan Daly's office, Diane Feinstein's office. More resources are coming to the city as needed, backup generators to run emergency wells. So I pretty much stuck with our chief of police that day, and then when I got home, I think it was roughly Sunday morning at 5 o'clock, or when I was preparing to figure out where I was going to sleep, I went back to my truck, and I had nothing but financial documents. I avoided my college debt. I didn't take those documents, but I had financial documents and underwear, and that was it. And so, as your city manager, somebody that's been talking about being prepared, you know, I'm going to remain optimistic and confident about what's going to happen out here with the individuals that we have here and all of the interagency cooperation. But I really urge you today and in the future to start planning for these events, because I can tell you personally that I don't feel like I was very prepared. So thank you very much. We're going to continue to work with everybody here, and we'll continue to send out updates as needed. Right now, our focus is supporting them, and obviously water. We're just continuing to make sure that we have no water issues, and as of right now, we don't have any issues with water. So thank you.
And a few words from Congressman Doug LaMalfa.
Well, good afternoon. Glad to be able to join you here, and another obviously unfortunate situation as we have to suffer every summer and fall in Northern California, and so I'm of course, myself and Aaron from my office stand ready to do whatever we can to weigh in Washington, D.C. with the resources might be necessary. If we need a little nudge here and there to make things happen, we're ready to do it. But, in touring today and speaking with all the personnel at the various headquarters, I see a great, great spirit of cooperation between all the agencies, county, city, and state, or county, city, state, and federal. And that's a really good thing. Sometimes it doesn't always work that way on other fires and other situations here, but Phil's great. Rachel Smith from Forest Service is great. Brian, big help on OES, and many, many others here. Appreciate our sheriff a lot on making things happen for you in a timely way. The thing that recurs with me on incident after incident, we represent a very large area in Northern California in the 1st Congressional District. So last year was the Million Acre Dixie Fire. And down in Paradise, just not terribly far from my home, the Camp Fire. And so many others. I can't even begin to try and name them all, and I won't for you here. But one of the most important things that please keep in mind and please convey to your friends, your cousins, whoever, all your neighbors, that when, first of all, if an evacuation order is made, please take it seriously, because your personnel here have it figured out. They got it aced, and it's for a reason. So the evacuation warnings are good to keep in mind. That's where you start taking those, precious papers and valuables and those things, and making a plan for your livestock if you have it. Obviously your domestic animals, and if you have folks with mobility challenges, elderly, what have you. And if you know about a neighbor, maybe an elderly person that lives alone, maybe make sure and look in on them and see that they're ready, if you would, for whatever may come. Because you just never know with fire. You never know. They're doing a great job here of setting up the boundary on the west side of Wairika here. We looked at the maps, but there's no guarantee with weather and such. So you got to take it serious when our personnel, because it makes their job easier, and it makes it safer for everybody else that they do have to help, that gets in a bind. And so another thing that's helpful too is that if you are from an evacuated zone, or let's say the fire has really blown through, but you've evacuated to an area that maybe they don't know about. Maybe you didn't go to the facility down in Weed or up in the Oregon side. Maybe you just went and found a motel somewhere down the line, or you're staying with a relative. It's also good to use that phone number. I wrote it down again, 842-8741, correct, on letting people know where you are, or where your neighbors are if they went somewhere and they're unaccounted for. We saw that in the Camp Fire. There was a big number of people that were unaccounted for. Thankfully, it turned out and narrowed down to a very, relatively small number to what it was. So those are things you can do to help that I've observed on fires over the years in crisis like this. Is just be sure to get information if you might be one of the ones where they might have to, they're trying to figure out where one of your neighbors or even yourself would be. So as it is, we will stay on top and monitor what we can do to help. A lot of times what we're doing federally is, if resources are needed, we'll of course push for that and make sure that the higher ups, whether it's Vallejo or Washington, are making every resource available, as our locals would be telling us. But then the disaster declaration, those that happen a little after, when we assess the size and the damage and all that, of course we'll be fighting for that when that time comes, on helping people get back on their feet. So with that, God bless you all. Be careful, be safe, look out for the neighbors on that, and stay informed and help keep these great folks that are doing the job for you informed. Again, the cooperation, from my appearance, is just really great amongst each other, and that's pretty precious. So with that, again, thank you. God bless you.
Thank you. Lastly, we're going to hear from our two Unified Incident Commanders. We're going to start with Darrell Laws, Unified Incident Commander from CAL FIRE. And Todd Mack, Unified IC from the U.S. Forest Service.
Thank you. Thanks, folks, for coming out tonight. We really appreciate you coming to this event and so we could share some information with you. A couple things. My name is Daryl Laws. I'm the operations chief for the CAL FIRE Siskiyou unit. I serve you here in the county also as a deputy county fire warden, so work here locally. So Mother Nature wasn't very kind to us when this fire started. We had a thundercell that came over that incident. We felt we had enough resources. We had emptied out all the stations on the Forest Service, CAL FIRE, sent everything we had. We ordered behind it, and we're hoping to pick it up between a couple hundred to 500 acres that evening. Thundercell came over the top of it, and our dreams were shattered. So went to 18,000 acres immediately in probably a very short time, a few hours. And it turned 180 degrees and ran right at the community of Klamath River. We put resources immediately in the area and just trying to get save as many structures and get people out of the way. So we've heard of several things about evacuations. And I just want to echo what Congressman Lamalfa said and Sheriff LaRue and Chief Gilman, is that when people don't evacuate, when they're in evacuation order, and they call 911, and that takes a firefighter, it takes an engine out of service to go make that rescue, to try to get those folks out of the way. And they can't fight fire, which is their job. They need to be able to go out there. If we can fight fire, get perimeter control, that's how we can curb it, steer it, and hopefully keep it from destroying our property, our homes, or even taking life. So please heed those warnings. I appreciate it when you do. My firefighters here in the unit, they really appreciate it also. Just a couple things. We've got about 1,700 firefighters on this incident. 200 engines, and I'm not speaking just for CAL FIRE. This is for both the Forest Service and us. As we've ordered, we've gotten those orders filled. They're here. We're getting more in as we speak. A couple hundred engines, over 50 dozers. You probably saw them working up on the ridge here behind Wairika, and really opening up that ridge. There hasn't been a fire in there. We've had several small fires, but we've never had a big fire since 1955, the Haystack Fire that came over from the top and burned into Wairika. So what we first did was trying to protect life and property, is get up there and give us something to work off the top of that ridge. And then now that we've gotten a little bit cooler weather, we got a little rain last night on the fire, we're able to send those crews down into Humbug Creek and go direct, right on the edge of the fire. Basically, we say 1 foot in the black, and that's to put the fire out. Keep it as small as possible. Make sure it doesn't run up on the other side of Humbug Creek, over Humbug Ridge, and come into town. So our folks are out there, the Forest Service folks are out there, we're all working together, we're in unified command, and we're making hay today. We're doing good work out there today, and we hope to put some, what we call black on the map, some containment. And that's the goal always, is just to get you folks, get you back into your homes. Try not to inconvenience you any more than we can. So I appreciate your cooperation. Thank you, and I'll hand it over to my partner.
Thanks, Daryl. Yeah. Good evening. Thank you for being here. Really do appreciate it. My name is Todd Mack. My day job is I'm the Forest Fire Chief for the Shasta Trinity National Forest. I'm here in the capacity of an incident commander assigned to California Interagency Incident Management Team 10. I also am a Siskiyou County resident. I live not far from here, so I'm right there with you with what we're going through, and I want you all to know that. So when we get mobilized as a team, we don't always get to go unified, and I am extremely thrilled when we get those opportunities to go unified with CAL FIRE. We cannot do this alone. The fire dynamic that we live in this day and age, it takes us all. It is not a one agency incident anymore very often. So we are unified. Daryl and I work together often, weekly, because of our proximity in our day jobs. But I want to just really close up with this, is when I'm coming to an incident I am thinking primarily about firefighter and public safety on my way in, and then incident stabilization. And how we achieve incident stabilization is with aggressive firefighting. That is the best way, with safety in mind. That is what we are attempting to do. It is what we are making hay with today. We've got the weather, we have the horsepower, and we're getting after it. I want you to know that. The last thing I'll leave you with is that we are unified. It is one plan, it's one voice, it's one message. I am very proud to be part of that, and I'm glad to serve the county of Siskiyou and live here too. So thank you very much.
Okay, thanks very much, all of our speakers. We're going to ask you to hang out for just a little bit longer. This is how we're going to handle questions with this very large crowd. We have Sarah over here. She's got a microphone. She's going to start in this corner over here and work her way around. Out of respect for your time and the people who need to get back to work, we're going to make it just one pass around. So think about that question now. But remember, we're not going anywhere. We're going to be here until all of your questions are answered. So if Sarah misses you, we're going to try to not make her sprint backwards. But if she misses you, it's okay. We will get you afterwards. I will be calling up the people who are the most appropriate to answer your question. But there are two people that didn't speak, and they are not going to, but I want to introduce them. One is Tim Fike. He is the liaison officer for Team 10, and one is Robin Ekman. She is the liaison officer with the incoming team who will start managing this fire in Unified with CAL FIRE at 6 a.m. tomorrow. Nothing will change. Your information sources will all be the same and will all be unified. But I wanted to show those two faces to you for utilities, for partners, and those kind of people so that you can put a face to that name. So we're going to start with Sarah. We're going to work our way around like this, just one pass, but don't panic. We will be here to answer your questions afterwards. Sarah.
I was wondering if you could explain one more time what happened to Klamath River. My house was one of those houses down there and did get out with the bank boxes and stuff. But it went from, something way in the distance to something that was instantly on us, and I don't really understand how that happened. So I was just wondering, and the second question is, when do you think we could go down and actually see, when do you think 96 will be open to check on it?
So I'll refer to the first question is, you asked what happened. So the fire was probably 300 acres. We had a lot of resources out there on the incident, and it was burning actually away from Klamath River to the south. And a thundercell, a cumulus cloud, one of those large clouds came over. And what happens with those is they build vertically, and then when it cools off at night or in the evenings, they tend to drop out. And you probably felt that before when they have those outflow winds. And they can go 360 degrees, and they can be very, very strong. I believe I heard that at Slater Butte, Ross, which is in Happy Camp, if you're not familiar, that they clocked the winds at over 50 miles an hour. And that's quite a ways away from where that cell, you know the proximity, where that cell dropped out over. So I would estimate that they were much stronger, the winds were. It pushed the fire 360 degrees because it was right over the top of the fire. And that's what pushed it into the community. And it's similar to, and I just could relate to the Slater fire, the camp fire. When they have those really high winds, we go into basically protecting life and just trying to get folks out of the way. Very intense. Flame lengths, I'm sure, were, I don't know if you saw it. You probably did. Yes. So, and then what was your second question? Was about the opening 96. So I alluded a little bit to evacuations. So every single day we have a meeting, an evacuation and repopulation meeting with the team members, CAL FIRE, Sheriff LaRue, and the affected agencies that have jurisdiction, plus our power company, PPL, Caltrans, Public Works. These folks go into a room, they look at a map, and they go around the room and they say, firefighters, is it fire safe to let residents back into it? And if they say, yeah, we feel it's fire safe, check it off. They go to around the room to every single one of those cooperators to ensure, because there's power lines down, there's stuff across the road, there's a bunch of rocks on 96. So we go through that every single day, and then we also preempt the ones that might be coming up in the next day. Our goal is always as quick as possible, but we have to make sure that for public safety that we don't open it too soon. If the fire would make a run back into that area, we wouldn't want to let folks in and then go, oh, we need to evacuate you again. That's bad practice, and we don't like to do that. Does that answer your question, ma'am? Sorry about your loss.
lived on Schoolhouse Gap Road, and could you show me on the big map the vicinity where it's from the fire? It's in Fort Jones area, Scott Valley.
So the question is, could we show you where it is on the big map where Scott Gap is?
No,
with
Schoolhouse Gap Road.
Schoolhouse Gap on the fire on the Scott. Yes. So it is. Oh gosh, put me on the spot here. You're right.
Oh, sorry.
You're fine. You're right here.
Right there.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is every square is a mile. Mm-hmm. So you're a good 7 miles from the leading edge of the fire.
It's north of me.
Yeah. It is north of you. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Oh, yeah. Am I allowed up McAdams Creek? Go to
you
my
can,
house?
but you know what? I would prefer it if we could come and get you a little closer to a map a little bit later. Could we do that? Could we bring a map to you?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yeah.
We'll do that afterwards. Thank you.
Thank you.
Concerning friends and family that want to come in and help from out of town, let's say Missouri and whatever, they want to come in this week, do you advise them not to and to wait?
So the question is, out of town friends and family, should they come in or should they wait? I think we had a really productive day today. I think if our days continue like that, you heard Heather's forecast, we could be looking good quickly. However, we still have a lot of fire out there. I think that's a very difficult thing to predict, but my advice to you right now would be to hold for a few more days and let us see where we are. Does anyone else want to address that more specifically from an operational standpoint? No. Okay.
What are you supposed to do when you have nothing left, when you know everything's burnt and it's gone? And I didn't get out with anything.
So the question is, what do you do when you have nothing left, when your home has burned, and you basically are starting from nothing? This question becomes a conversation about recovery, and I'm sure there's someone who can talk to you about that.
Good afternoon, sir. Who was that question? So I have that. Okay, great. The moment a incident starts, we start recovery. So our goal is to make sure, like I said, to mitigate human suffering. Our goal is to Hello? So our goal is to make sure that we're able to get people who've been displaced back in, and then from there, what we can do is we're going to get you their services that we'll be posting, and get with me after this, and we'll make sure we get you in touch with folks, Red Cross, United Way, different foundations throughout that can get you established now and then go from there. So that's really important to me. Make sure that you come get me afterwards, okay? And anyone else that has that same question, making sure that we, oh, there we go. Anyone that has that same, did everybody hear me on that? So make sure if you have that same question about what to do now, come talk to me afterwards. Thank you.
Yeah, don't lose hope on this. We've had tremendous success, I'd say, in these disastrous fires in the last few years of getting the coordination with Cal OES, Office of Emergency Services, Cal OES, as well as FEMA at the federal level to help people with recovery in the immediate where FEMA is, and then the longer term where when you unfortunately where you have homes and buildings burned, there's the footprint that needs to be cleaned properly so you're not getting toxic material in waterways or just on site. And they do try to be respectful, allowing people to have an opportunity to check their site after certain conditions are met for lost valuables and such. So it's been a fairly improving and good process as we've gone. They've had to learn. FEMA hasn't really had a ton of gigantic fire experience, let's say, until more recent years when we started getting Tubbs Fire, Ranch Fire, those big ones down a few years ago in Sonoma County, Lake County, Mendocino, those areas. And so we've had to, in a way, keep learning. They've been more used to hurricanes and tornadoes and that nature. So there's been kind of a bit of a learning curve on how to coordinate all that and apply that towards wildfire, because we haven't really seen these gigantic fires affecting, we lost the entirety of Paradise in Greenville last year and other communities, portions of, and some that maybe don't necessarily have names or official towns. We saw this with a good portion of Happy Camp a couple years ago. So our effort is to get those coordinated and get the cleanup done. And then once the cleanup is done, then you have the opportunity for the homeowner, landowner to decide what they want to do with that land, to rebuild or to occupy that land perhaps with temporary, so we want those options to be open for everybody and expedite as much as possible. That gets into the issue of, does FEMA have trailers available? Those are all questions we have to answer as we go. And we're a little early on that to, even know where we are with the end of the fire and how much damage has been up there. But that's the process, and we'll be right there beside you on that with helping to do what we can to move it along and make it happen. So don't give up hope on, even if things look terrible for you or a neighbor on that we can't coordinate and make things happen, okay?
Hey, I was wondering for those that are able-bodied and can't sit still in light of what's going on, what's a good avenue for us to provide assistance to you guys in service or volunteering?
So what the question is, how can you help the firefighters? How can you provide service with volunteering or other services?
So who had the question? All right. So locally here in the county, there's 29 or 30 volunteer fire departments, and we're always looking for volunteer firefighters. I would encourage you in your local area where you live is to contact that department. Where do you live, sir? Klamath River? Great. Janet Jones is the chief down there. Reach out to Janet Jones, and if not, meet me afterwards and I'll get you the contact. Other things for us, we have a program called Volunteers in Prevention. We use folks, we have our volunteers, we do lookout training, can put you in a lookout if you'd like to do something like that, help on fires, and there's other things we can do. So, but anybody that's interested in volunteering, we're always looking for volunteer firefighters in Siskiyou County. So wherever the community you live in or near, catch up with me after the meeting and I'll point you in the right direction. And I think our OES director, Brian Shinoni, had something he wanted to add about volunteering.
Hey, first of all, thank you. If you want to volunteer, thank you so much. We've got a lot of resources out. We have everything from sheltering volunteers with American Red Cross And our biggest need right now, if tomorrow you're like, hey, I'm ready to help, our animal shelters are getting completely overwhelmed. We have everything from dogs, cats, chickens. We have a turtle named Gascan who is in our animal shelter, and we really kind of don't know how to take care of that. So our animal volunteers are fantastic. If you want to help right now, we need help. So come again, I'll be over probably there, and you can come contact me, and we will figure out a good spot for you. Thank you. I really appreciate everybody. And that's part of our community is people want to help, and I love that. Thank you.
Sort of exciting to see two guys kind of like fighting to get an answer in there. Next question.
Do I have to push it? Oh, hi. I live in town, and we read that we were not supposed to be using water to reserve water, not use it excessively outside or inside. And so my question is, as a first line of defense for maybe embers that are flying around as a result of this fire, how are we as homeowners supposed to ensure that our properties are protected if we're discouraged from water usage?
Yes, that's a good question. The question, if you did not hear it, was we've been asked to conserve water. How are we supposed to do home protection if we are being asked to conserve? And I'm going to Wairika City Manager.
Thank you. Yeah, I would say, it's completely understandable Saturday, and I'm sorry, I'm not sure where completely understandable Saturday, but the excessive overwatering, you have to understand that there is only so much water that can flow through the system with our filters coming in as potable water. And as you can see, the city has ballooned up. I don't know how many thousands of people we're also helping supply water for. So as of right now, when we look around and we know that there are not embers flying through the air, it's really imperative to conserve water here. It's completely understandable, in my opinion, that if we start to see that people are going to attempt to, water their property or water their roof, and we will continue to throw out the notices if that becomes an issue for us. But right now, since we're not currently under that, then we're just asking that we conserve water for the increased need of water. We're supplying water right now to Siskiyou Airport for the Hella base. We're supplying water. Water tenders are all over the town. They're filling up with Wairika water, and we are happy to provide that water. Obviously, we have different camps using water as well, so there's an influx on the system. Overall, we are secure with water. Pressure is great, and right now I don't think there is a need. I think there's also an opportunity to just assess your property. If there's any work that you can do on defensible space, I would suggest doing some of that, or maybe CAL FIRE can touch on that. But it's completely understandable if embers are flying through the air and it's a total need. I completely understand that as the city manager to utilize that resource.
Thank you. And our next question. Sarah, you look different.
Hi, I live at Emerald Point. It's a senior residence. Luckily, we're on the west side of the freeway, on the other side of the Y. But if we were to be evacuated, would there be transportation? Because we got folks who they can't move. They don't have cars. They're not really ambulatory themselves. Would there have been some kind of bus or something?
Good question. Question is about transportation with those who do not drive for evacuation.
Can I get a hand on who that was? All right, excellent, thank you. So yes, we have contingency planning for all of it. We will be in contact. For those of you that do maybe need additional time, that's going to be something that you need to contact with any one of those contact numbers that I talked about earlier. That's definitely going to be something you want to push to us so we know that. As an example, the area that was evacuated, what day are we on? The other day? That was about 5 hours to 6 hours. So we want to make sure that we are ready to go, right? We want to pack up, be ready to go, but we also have additional contingency plans. We have buses. We have everything that we're going to need to know, and we're going to push that out as soon as possible. So these are all in planning stages that are now planned and ready to go, and you're going to see that on Siskiyou County OES page, any one of our reputable social media sites, Sheriff's page, City of Wairika, CAL FIRE, whatever that looks like, and wherever you're getting your source, just make sure it's one of our sources that it's pushing that with an official message. Is that good on that? Awesome, thank you.
Hello, my name is Laura and I run the Siskiyou Community Food Bank. So if you're affected by a fire, you are encouraged to come to our food bank. It's over by the bowling alley. We're in the same building, but on the east side. We help, we work with Red Cross, Salvation Army, and other local agencies here to provide what we can. So if you're hungry and you need some food, we have groceries for you.
I just want to put some points on that for the folks that are watching online. They may not have been able to hear you. This is the Siskiyou County Food Bank, and they do have resources available for people who need it. I may ask afterwards that you come talk to me, and we will put the information into the chat.
Wonderful. And it's actually Siskiyou Community Food Bank.
Siskiyou Community Food Bank. Thank you.
And then right next to me, I have John Michael, who is Wairika Lions, host Lions, right? And then also the Wairika Food Bank, and they are on Gold Street, and I'm sure that the same is available with them.
Thank you. So we have some food bank possibilities for folks in need. We will make sure that those get into the chat.
Hi. I live on McAdams Creek Road near Highview Gulch, and we've been evacuated with the Forest Service and CAL FIRE people everywhere. But what I want to know, we were told that the fire was 2 ridges behind us, and I'd like to know, is it moving away from us? Because it seemed like it went to Klamath Falls.
So the question is, if you live in a particular spot, which way the fire is moving from you.
Yes.
Barely being able to see, what I'm going to ask is that we bring a map to you after this meeting, and you can show us exactly on the map, and we'll look at the way it's moving together. And if anybody else, could you repeat where you are?
McAdams Creek Road near Highview Gulch, and we're not very far from that Schoolhouse Gap Road either.
Okay, so okay, I heard, so down here in the Scott River area.
Yes.
Okay, anybody, what we will do is afterwards we'll make sure that we talk to you a little bit more about fire operations in that area, and anybody else who wants to join that conversation, please meet us afterwards and we'll definitely talk about that specifically.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, I'd like to ask about Code Red, and if you covered it, I'm sorry, but I was relying on Code Red, but it doesn't seem to be working now, and I'm at set, and I know that from looking online, but online's not going to help me if it moves up to you have to get out and I'm sleeping or something like that. So is Code Red still out there to call?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, it is. So Code Red is our primary warning and alert system. However, moving forward, we are using iPause as well. So we are going to use, I can't remember what it stands for right now, but it is pushing to your device no matter what. Code Red is a sign-up base, so I have to put my number in there, and then I get that Code Red alert. Along with that is also an option to use iPause, which we don't always use, but this dictates the fact that we will absolutely use iPause. So I may be in Doris, but I'm getting a push. So it is going to be a mass notification, and moving forward, any notifications that go out will be set in an iPause as well. Does that answer your question? And afterwards, again, I will be over there. Come talk to me and we'll look at your Code Red and get you re-signed up or whatever that needs to be. Okay?
Okay.
Thank you. And just a note about Code Red, I also come from a very rural Northern California community. And one thing I do recommend to people is that they go in and check their account every year and just make sure that nothing weird has happened and that you're secure knowing that you've signed up for that and that you're good to go.
Well, I just want to say that I appreciate this town hall meeting or whatever, this briefing. And when is the next one? Because this fire is threatening all communities. We don't know what's going to happen because it blew up from 100 acres to 18,000 and then to 51,000. So when is the next briefing and when do we find out information? It's really difficult to get it really current, good information. And the TV is worthless. So we need to have something coming from you all to inform us.
So
We're a rural area and we need you, but we need a briefing often.
Okay. Message received, loud and clear. We will circle up and figure out when the next time we're going to do one of these things is. I want to tell you something, though. You know, we talk a lot about having the same message for CAL FIRE, for the Forest Service, for the Sheriff's Office, for OES. You know, there's a lot of people that don't want to look for this stuff on Facebook. You can also call us on the phone. I'm going to give you a phone number. It's the one on InstaWeb. We are answering it as fast as we can. And so bear with us. We are not just getting more firefighting resources in, we're also getting more information resources in. There were a couple of us who really felt like throwing our cell phones into a pond after the first day. We didn't, and we're glad to be here, but I want to give you this phone number, which is 530-289-8920. I'm going to repeat it mostly to make sure I read it right. 530-289-8920. Call us up and ask. We are also increasing our information capacity as well. So hopefully we will get more information out, and we will talk about another community meeting just as soon as we can. Is this the last question? Yeah.
Yeah, hi, thank you, and thank you to everyone for working together and providing the community information. The question I have has to do with policing for the evacuated areas. I have a friend who asked me a question while I was sitting here. I don't want to give the area that she's at, that she's evacuated from, but maybe I could ask. She's saying that her area hasn't been policed, so she's concerned about looters and wondering about that. Thanks.
Is it county or city?
Well, we can touch on both of those. Just so you know, anytime there's an evacuation and we tell people to leave their homes, stressful. We totally get that. So we are tasked with supplying security, roving patrols, because we are concerned about the looters. And I will say this, oftentimes there's crimes of opportunity. If you do leave, please do your very best to lock your house. And just know, I'm going to get a little political here. I know our laws aren't the best in California with keeping people locked up, which is frustrating for all of us. And I won't go any further on that. But just know, zero tolerance here. We want to keep those people locked up as long as we can. It's absolutely infuriating that people are suffering and then they're getting hit again with something. There's actually a section that if you burglarize a residence in an evacuation zone, it's like a $100,000 bail, which we hope no one can post. So we want to keep people locked up, so don't get me wrong on that. But that's our duty to you, to make sure that we are roving patrols. If you're not seeing us, I'd just say we are out there. We mentioned earlier 70 or 60 plus strong, 2-man units. So at some point, I think, but there's nothing wrong that if you are not seeing us, call us, because that's our job. So we won't take that offensive at all. So that's the best way to communicate and make sure we're hitting those areas, because again, there's so many streets, and we do have people from outside the community, and they may not know the area very well. So we want to honor that and respect your property and make sure we have adequate patrols. Thank you.
Thanks, and I would invite you to come up afterwards if you'd like to talk more about that. I want to thank everybody for coming. We appreciate your time. We know this has gone quite long, but we want to make sure we get your questions answered. I know we have a few out there that we still need to address. In the meantime, I want to say have a really good night, and we will announce the next one as soon as we can. Thank you. Have a good night.